Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. I've been covering the news for our viewers and subscribers since the start of the pandemic. I've covered everything that happened as far as stimulus, unemployment news, as far as the economy, the country, and our money is concerned for well over a year now. But I can tell you that the situation is changing quite rapidly. In fact, our economy is going through changes that are going to last for generations. I have to be honest with you, there are times when I look at the rate at which our country is changing and I say this can happen only in America because we lead the rest of the world when it comes to the country, when it comes to the economy. And I know sometimes it doesn't feel like it, but having traveled all over the world, I can tell you that we do indeed lead the way. Now, what do I mean by leading the way? Well, our fellow Americans are leading the way by way of jobs and by way of making choices, career choices in the future. Here's the headline of an article on your screen from Bloomberg. A quarter of US workers want change by 2023, keeping churn alive. In other words, 25% of American workers want to change their job, potentially explore a new career, maybe even start their own business. Before I get into the news, please click like. Please click subscribe. Please enable notifications. I would really appreciate that. A ton of effort goes into the creation, the production, the content, the research, the editing of these videos. So let's just jump right in. A quarter of US workers are considering a job change or retirement in the next 12 to 18 months. And this could lead to much more churn in the labor market, according to a survey by Principal Financial Group. Now, let's think about this for a second. This proportion, 25%, actually rises to 34% when we account for individuals who are on the fence in their current roles. So the actual number could be as much as 1/3 of our fellow Americans when you take into consideration individuals who are already working in their current job but who are not happy or those who are seeking a change. In fact, a lot of employers also shared that sentiment, and 81% of employers were actually concerned about strong competition for candidates. In other words, 81% of employers were concerned that, hey, I could lose some of my top people to other companies who are trying to poach my employees. And folks, the fact is a lot of employers are paying more and are by extension trying to poach the best candidates from other companies. In fact, here's a quote from Sri Reddy, who's the Senior Vice President of Retirement and Income Solutions at Principal. The survey shows a clear picture of a labor market still in flux, in large part due to shifting habits and preferences brought on by the pandemic. Here's an image on your screen. Here's a statistic. Millions of Americans are actually looking for a change for a variety of reasons. They're looking to quit. 60% of those who were surveyed said that they wanted higher pay. 59% of those who were surveyed said that they felt undervalued in their current role. I think that's very interesting. 36% of them wanted career advancement, which totally makes sense. 25% said they wanted more workplace benefits. That also makes sense. And 23% wanted a hybrid work arrangement. In other words, they wanted the flexibility to be able to work from home whenever they want. A lot of workers are actually capitalizing on an extreme labor shortage to negotiate better pay and conditions. And basically, a lot of employers who are desperate for talent are trying to offer better pay and conditions. In fact, the latest jobs report showed that the labor participation rate barely budged in October because millions of our fellow Americans are simply not, I repeat, not getting back into the workforce. Now, why are people wanting to change jobs or quit their current jobs? Well, folks, as you can imagine, people want more pay, people want a better career trajectory, they want to be able to climb up in their careers. But the huge factor here is that the pandemic has actually forced millions of our fellow Americans to take a closer look and to reevaluate their options. In fact, about a quarter, like I mentioned earlier, want hybrid options, and retirement benefits are a key for 77% of our fellow Americans who say that the pandemic essentially drove them to want to save more money. Now, this is especially true because of inflation. Things are getting more and more expensive, and the impact of the pandemic on our psychology. In fact, the pandemic has actually made consumers want to reevaluate their options, and consumers are now reevaluating the overall economic outlook. In fact, more and more people now want to retire sooner than expected. Now, let's take a look at this incredible image that actually shows you that millions of our fellow Americans are either going to retire earlier or are definitely or have already retired earlier than expected due to a variety of reasons. Let's examine this incredible image. 6% said they retired earlier than they thought due to employer package. 13% retired earlier due to health reasons. Another 13% retired earlier because they were simply let go. 18% retired earlier because they felt they could. 25% retired as planned, and 19% didn't plan at all. They just retired. And now I want our viewers and subscribers to know that Principal conducted this quarterly survey in August and September. More than 1,800 residents and 205 plan sponsors who have at least one financial product, in other words, a 401k plan or other similar plans, actually participated. So this is a significant indication of the fact that millions of our fellow Americans are retiring earlier. Many of our fellow Americans simply want to switch jobs and are not happy in their current job. I believe that this is going to be a permanent shift in the American economy, not just 1 in 4 workers wanting to seek new opportunities, but 1 in 3 workers wanting a change, potentially retiring early. And this, by the way, explains why the labor force participation rate has declined. This isn't just about low wage earners who unfortunately are not able to find a job or unfortunately have to do other things and drop out of the workforce. This isn't just about individuals who don't have a college degree having no options. This is actually about Americans with options deciding that they don't want to work anymore, or that they will sit out of the workforce, sit by the sidelines waiting until a better opportunity comes along because they have some savings. Maybe it's stimulus checks, maybe it's unemployment benefits, maybe, just maybe, it's another member of the household bringing in revenue. And this, folks, is the permanent shift in the US economy. Early retirement and millions of our fellow Americans sitting by the sidelines waiting for a better opportunity. And employers are likely to see a lot of challenges in not just hiring workers, but holding on to their existing employees. Please click the like button. Please click subscribe. Please enable notifications. Thank you so much for watching. Please follow me on Twitter. This right here is my Twitter feed. My Twitter handle is ignition_time. That's ignition_time. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.